Hi, guys. This is Rihanna. I'm hoping you all can see me. Hi, good afternoon. Thanks so much for your patience in getting things started. I am very new to the technology, so I really appreciate everyone hanging in there while I get set up. So, welcome. I'm really excited to talk to you all today. So I'm here representing Starkle Nutrition. So we're a functional nutrition clinic in the University District of Seattle, although, as you know, we're all online at this particular moment, taking appointments via telehealth. There are 9 practitioners of us here, and we each specialize in a different area of nutrition. So we provide nutritional and mental health counseling to clients to help with chronic disease conditions, as much as to just maintain a healthy lifestyle. So our areas of service are autoimmune disease, gastrointestinal health, diabetes, high cholesterol, eating disorders, oncology, brain health, and general wellness. So we decided to start these nutrition community hours just to help support our communities during these difficult times. We want to facilitate a space where we can share our knowledge and experience for the betterment of our friends and families. So my computer is doing very weird things. I apologize. I'm going to try and roll with it though. So my name is Rihanna, and I am a newer practitioner here, but definitely not new to the field. So I've been in the nutrition field for over 15 years, and I specialize in cognitive health as well as healthy aging, women's health, metabolic conditions, and intuitive and mindful eating. So today, I want to talk about the number one thing we can do to support our immune system. It won't cost you an arm and a leg. You don't need a special outfit, though many people have one. Anyone can do it, old or young, big or small, all genders and nationalities. You can do it in a car, you can do it in the air, you can do it on the bus or your favorite comfy chair. And at the danger of sounding like a children's book here, have you guessed that the secret is sleep? So despite anyone being able to do it, over a third of the US population sleeps less than the recommended 7 hours a night. And the number who report being sleep deprived has significantly increased over the past few decades. So in fact, the annual survey from the National Sleep Foundation found that only 10% of American adults prioritize their sleep over other aspects of daily living, such as fitness, nutrition, work, social life, and hobbies and personal interests. So other really important things, but only 10% prioritize sleep. So we know it's important. We know sleep is essential to many physiological functions. So it's actually a time when our brain cleanup mechanisms get activated for cleaning out toxins in the brain, such as amyloid beta, which is the buildup of which is heavily implicated in Alzheimer's pathology. So sleep is also a time during which we consolidate memories and repair and restore ourselves, whether it's recovering from a workout or the stiffness of sitting all day. Both we need sleep to really help recover from those. So when we don't sleep enough or deeply enough, this dysfunction can actually affect our blood pressure, our heart rate, our mental status, our hormones, and even induce oxidative stress. So oxidative stress is an imbalance of free radicals and antioxidants in the body. So this can actually lead to cell and tissue damage. So another huge role that sleep plays for the importance of our talk today, lack of sleep can actually impair our immune system. So adults who are short sleepers, so that's defined as anything less than 7 hours, those adults are more likely to report 10 of the most common chronic health conditions. So arthritis, diabetes, depression, and asthma. So what's more, the shorter the sleep, the shorter the life. So recent findings actually suggest that individuals who sleep for less than 6 hours a night have a 12% increased risk of premature death. So that's relative to those that are getting the 6 to 8 hours a night. We know that better self-reported sleep has been correlated with improved health outcomes, so strongly correlated for mental health, and moderately correlated for physical and cognitive health. So sleep plays a role in a huge, huge range of illnesses. So have you ever noticed that you're much more likely to get the cold or flu when you're sleep deprived? So in all the research studies looking at mechanisms that actually support our immune system, nothing comes close to getting plenty of good sleep. So there's no supplement, no diet, no other lifestyle strategy. Those are all just icing on the cake. You need that great foundation of quality sleep to start with. So I really find that the message really sinks in when people really understand the science behind it. So, while we all heard that sleep is important, we really need to understand, why. And so today I just want to briefly explain a little bit specifically how sleep improves immune function and resilience. So as we go through each day, our body releases various hormones to keep us functioning. For instance, cortisol. Ideally, we want that high in the morning. That's what wakes us up. It gives us energy to get going for the day and feel really ready and alert. And cortisol, gradually drops during the day. And then melatonin levels go up as it's close to bed. So that's actually the hormone that makes us feel sleepy. So the release of melatonin actually is accompanied by a significant release of growth peptides and growth factors that prime, or you could think of it as activating our immune cells. So these types of cells would be natural killer cells and T cells. And so these are vital to fighting infections such as viruses. So in other words, those vital immune cells need sleep in order to function properly. Imagine a poorly rested group of soldiers trying to go out and do their jobs effectively and protect on a really poor night's sleep. So over the past several years, researchers have actually begun to examine, what happens at the cellular level in the body when we're deprived of sleep. So there's actually some studies that suggest a connection between limited sleep and oxidative stress, so increased oxidative stress. And so this actually points to the mitochondria as a possible target of those physiological effects of sleep deprivation. So let's all hop on the magic school bus and go back to the days of high school biology. So for those of you that might not remember the mitochondria, that's the powerhouse of our cells. So immunity and mitochondria are actually very much interlinked with each other. So an important feature of the mitochondria is that it can regulate the activation, the differentiation, and survival of immune cells. So the mitochondria have a potential role at two levels. So they can be a target of stress, i.e. the stress of sleep deprivation, and as a mediator of stress pathophysiology, suggesting that one of the biological functions of sleep may be to protect against oxidative stress. So, while many people are out there taking a large cocktail right now of various supplements to support their immune system, that's great. However, probably the most fundamental and profound action you can take is to just get plenty of sleep, high quality sleep. So I'm not suggesting you stop taking the supportive supplements, but you'll likely get a lot more bang for your buck if you start with a strong foundation of quality sleep. So at this time, I just want to take a minute to really define, what does healthy quality sleep look like? And how do you tell if you're sleep deprived? So one hint is if you need the help of an alarm clock or another person to help wake you up, you're not getting enough sleep. Everyone just take a deep breath. If you're starting to get upset about this, it's probably not as bad as you think, and there are things you can do about it. So, one of the biggest sleep mistakes I see in my clients is that they simply stay up too late. And that might be especially problematic right now when we are glued to our screens much more than normal. We're watching the news, we're with our kids all day, so we're trying to catch up on, me time. But if you're genuinely focused on improving your immune health, going to bed with a lot of time to naturally wake up in the morning is key. So I really encourage my clients to experiment, until they find a schedule that has them naturally waking up before that alarm clock goes off in the morning. So, what do we do about it? In addition to just, going to sleep earlier, a lot easier than it sounds, I realize. I want to really talk now about how we can really improve our sleep that we're getting, as well as what to do when you can't sleep. So I'm talking to all you insomniacs out there, as well as those who wake up a lot during the night, and maybe you struggle to fall back asleep. So sleep can be especially difficult for many individuals right now, given that most of us are stuck at home with our families. So as I mentioned earlier, maybe we're now taking care of our children for longer periods of the day than we're accustomed to, or working longer hours, or maybe even different hours, depending on what sector we're in. It may be harder to have any semblance of a routine that supports healthy habits, such as consistent sleep and wake times. Our diets may have significantly changed due to our finances or our ability to go to the stores frequently, or maybe your preferences have changed given the higher levels of stress. So we may be in front of screens more frequently now, whether we're on the computer for longer periods of time or on our smartphone, given that we're a little more socially isolated, or maybe we're just watching more TV to help us relax, because who doesn't love a good story to help take our mind off of what's going on out there in the world? So, how do we improve our sleep, the sleep we're getting? So I want to segue into sleep hygiene. So this is something that really consists of what you do during the day, what you do before bed, and your bedroom environment. So when we think about the factors that can really impact our sleep in terms of what you do during the day, so these would be things like coffee, drinking alcohol, smoking, and eating. So nicotine is actually a stimulant. So it's actually best to avoid this in the hours before bed. It can actually interfere with our ability to get into those deeper stages of sleep. Caffeine is also a stimulant, so that can reduce the amount of sleep we get by as much as an hour or more, even when we're drinking it as much as 6 hours before bed. So I actually encourage all my clients to do some digging into their habits, run an experiment to find the ideal time to end their caffeine intake. So for some individuals, this might be 10 a.m. Everyone is different. Alcohol, this is something that can often make us feel much more relaxed and fall asleep more easily, since it acts as a sedative. And however, sedation and sleep, two very different states. So, when we're sedated, we really don't get into the full range of sleep cycles and stages. To make matters worse, so as we metabolize alcohol, and your blood alcohol drops, it actually has an activating effect, and it's now a stimulant. So it's metabolized into a stimulant that now really wakes us up. So now in the second half of your night, you're tossing, you're turning, your breathing problems often are exacerbated, such as sleep apnea. So it's really not a long-term great sleep aid. Doesn't mean you have to give up your glass of wine altogether. You may just need to enjoy it earlier in the evening. So something else that can really impact, that's another factor that feeds into kind of what we're doing during the day, is actually exposure to light. So getting exposure to light, not just on our retina, but on our skin. Experts really agree here that getting exposure to light first thing in the morning, so like in the first few hours of being awake, can actually really support our circadian rhythms and that cortisol melatonin balance that I touched on earlier. Exercise is another factor here. So ideally getting movement in during the day, so you're actually tired, when you lay down to go to bed. And it also can feed into our circadian rhythms and hormone releases as well. Having that consistent sleep-wake time, as I mentioned earlier, can also be really supportive for maintaining our circadian rhythm and that hormone balance too. So the other factor involved in sleep hygiene would be the things you do before bed. Are you staring at screens? Are you doing intense exercise? Are you watching the news and getting really stressed out? Are you having a heated conversation with your partner? Whatever you're doing before bed, ideally, hopefully it's relaxing and low key. So for some of my clients, that's taking a warm bath or drinking chamomile or passion flower tea or using lavender essential oils or reading a low key novel, listening to soothing music, or a guided meditation. Another factor that can really impact that it often occurs right before bed that can have an impact on sleep quality is screen time. So the sleep experts really agree that avoiding screens after dark, so when the sun goes down, especially in those hours right before going to sleep. So the recommendation here is to get screens out of the bedroom. Turning off the TV, not relying on that as a sleep aid, since that can really mess with our sleep-wake cycles. And again, our ability just to get into deeper levels of sleep. So anytime, we're really exposed to that light on our screen, it's something, those screens emit something called blue light that can really dampen melatonin production. So really not a supportive habit if you're trying to get high quality rest. So in addition to TV screens, this includes our smartphones, maybe a large LED screen on our alarm clock. If you have to be on your computer or phone, you can use blue light filters or even blue light glasses you can wear to block the effects. Shifting your smartphone to night mode or using third-party software to manage the spectrum of light emitted for your screen is also an option. It's not ideal, but it's definitely better. Again, these are kind of last resort measures if you really need to be on your screen. But it's a great mindfulness exercise of just trying to check in with yourself of, do I need to be doing this right now? Shift workers come into play here too. Feel free to ask about that in the comments if someone has a specific question regarding that. It's a little bit more complicated. Essentially, it really involves eliminating the light and trying to trick your brain, that it is dark when indeed it's not. So the other factor involved in sleep hygiene is our bedroom environment. So this includes things like the temperature of our room, the amount of light or darkness, how quiet or noisy it is. So as far as the optimal amount of light, the darker the better. So a lot of my clients use eye masks, blackout curtains, really getting rid of that glowing alarm clock or smartphone out of their room, anything that's really disrupting the balance of light there. So, and when it comes to noise, we want as much quiet consistency as possible. So a white noise machine has helped many of my clients sleep better. So white machines are actually, they block out noises of our environment that we can't control. So for instance, if you sleep next to a noisy street, maybe you have to sleep in a hotel room. So there's actually several published studies that show background white noises produce more REM sleep. And that's generally the stage of sleep where we're dreaming, we're consolidating memories, really important in mood regulation. So we're getting more restful sleep. And it can also, and remember that restful sleep can have a profound impact on the immune system. So a white noise machine doesn't make bird sounds. It doesn't make the sounds of changing waves or a forest. It's a continuous sound that really doesn't vary much. Another factor in the bedroom environment would be comfort level. So really finding bedding, mattress, pillow, sleepwear that really feels comfortable for you. It doesn't have to be expensive. Goodness knows you can spend an arm and a leg on it if you want to, but it really just has to suit you and feel comfortable to you. So a lot of my clients, when revamping their bedroom, are always asking me, like, what kind of mattress should I get? What's the best one out there? But, really, there's so many considerations. Do you have allergies? Do you get hot at night? Do you want something that's environmentally friendly? Do you have specific orthopedic needs? So it's completely individual. Closely related to that is temperature. So sleep scientists say that the ideal temperature is right around 65. Preferences do vary slightly from person to person, but in general, the recommendation is to keep your room cool. So a simple way to do this is to control your temperature is just with your pajamas. So, most of my clients find that the less they wear, the better. So this can be, basically pulling up more blankets over you is far less disruptive than waking up at 2 a.m. and having to, to change clothes and things like that. So that pretty much covers most of the sleep hygiene aspects. So I wanted to cover, how to fall asleep and stay asleep. So once you've kind of mastered the sleep hygiene things, or maybe, falling asleep is just more so your issue rather than, getting sleep in any shape or form. So the how to fall asleep and stay asleep sort of recommendations. So these are considered non-pharmacological activities that relax the mind and body. Any insomniac who's heard the phrase, you need to get more sleep, really understands how frustrating that statement can be. Most people don't want to go through life half awake and numb and constantly fatigued. So, obviously in some cases it can be a choice where those other priorities take precedence, but in many cases, sleep can seem really difficult despite our best efforts. So there's a lot of people that have a hard time staying asleep at night. So they wake up in the middle of the night, and usually they're not very relaxed. Usually there's a lot of anxiety or worry that can come with that. So one of the most common causes is actually low blood sugar or hypoglycemia. So my colleague and friend Heather touched on this during our last nutrition happy hour. If eating something helps you relax and fall back asleep, this is typically a sign, your blood sugar is low. So, this means that, you may be experiencing low blood sugar throughout the day. And, if you're missing meals, going too long without eating, eating too many sugars and starchy foods without enough protein and fats to sustain your blood sugar production throughout the night, you can really impact your sleep quality there. So, another reason people can't stay asleep oftentimes is because of frequent urination. So this could simply be from too much salt in the diet, especially right before bed. So again, I encourage my clients just to do a little bit experimenting of noticing, maybe when they went out for Chinese food, or had a lot of salty popcorn or chips right before bed, they noticed that, they were waking up more frequently, having to use the restroom. Obviously, prostate issues in men and overactive bladders in both men and women can play a role for what wakes us up. But, these often can be related to declining hormone activity, as well as gradual weakening of our pelvic floor muscles. So, those are definitely examples of underlying factors, common ones that can wake us up during the night, and things that, you really, really must address during the day. So, whatever the reason, I always encourage people suffering from lack of sleep to engage in non-pharmacological activities that can really relax our mind and body. So this could be anything from biofeedback to meditation and yoga. But relaxing isn't sleeping. It's better. But can any of these lifestyle interventions actually help propel an individual into sleep? Well, there's actually been a lot of research on this. So just last year, over 49 different studies, looked at mind-body therapies like meditation, Tai Chi, Qigong, and yoga, and found that they can actually all be really effective in treating insomnia and improving sleep quality. So for both healthy individuals and patients who are actively suffering from some sort of sleep disorder. So the therapies resulted in statistically significant improvement for both improvement in sleep quality as well as reduction in the insomnia severity. So one fun note is that the researchers found that Qigong had a slight advantage over Tai Chi in the improvement of sleep quality. There's been a lot of research studies into the effects of mindful awareness practices and looking at sleep quality. And they actually found those superior to a highly structured sleep hygiene education intervention. So again, remember those are the targets and modifying the day-to-day behavioral and environmental factors that contribute to poor sleep. So Mindfulness exercises would include maybe a mindful sitting meditation, maybe mindful eating. That could be something you do at dinner time. It could be appreciation meditation. It could be a loving kindness meditation. If sitting isn't for you, they even looked at mindful walking. So really being present with the action of walking and mindful movement in general. And so the research studies looked at anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes of mindful experiential practice, in addition to teach or deliver like didactic materials and group discussion. So the study was actually published in JAMA, a Journal of American Medical Association. And they also showed that mindful awareness practice yielded improvements in sleep-related daytime impairment. So that would be depression, so like low affect, as well as fatigue throughout the day. There's also been a lot of research in women with premenstrual syndrome, PMS, as well as perimenopause. We know this group is one that significantly experiences sleep problems, due to a fluctuation of hormone levels. But there was actually a recent study in 2018 that looked at yoga and found that it reduced sleep disturbances in patients with PMS and subsequently improved the efficiency of their sleep. So another population that's commonly really affected by sleep disorders are cancer survivors. So another population we work with here at Starkle Nutrition. In fact, 51 to 90% of cancer survivors experience some form of sleep disturbance. So this was another randomized controlled trial in 2019 that looked again at yoga therapy for cancer survivors and found improvements in overall sleep quality, as well as a reduction in that daytime dysfunction. So the depression, the fatigue, and just overall effects of sleep deprivation. So really exciting. And these are actually demonstrating a statistical trend for greater reductions in sleep medication use too, which is fantastic. So if you didn't get enough sleep during the day, something critical that I always recommend is that, try and take a nap, even if it's just for 20 minutes. So this is especially true if you slept just less than 6 hours. It can really have a profound impact on supporting your immune system. So I want to end today's talk by discussing a few nutrition aspects that folks can implement to better support their sleep, as well as support their sleep-deprived bodies and their immune system in general. So what we eat can really impact the regulation of our circadian clocks, our blood flow, the synthesis of hormones and neurotransmitters that are all involved in sleep regulation. So there's actually certain fruits that contain melatonin that may actually help you fall asleep faster and wake up less often during the night. So for instance, tart cherries, we commonly see these in the form of tart cherry juice or whole tart cherries, maybe in the freezer section. They actually contain a lot of melatonin. Bananas, pineapple, and oranges are also really great sources. So as you remember, melatonin is the hormone that helps us feel sleepy. So when it comes to nutrition for sleep-deprived individuals, the goals here are really to support mitochondrial health and overall cellular health, to reduce oxidative stress, damage, and inflammation. So thankfully, there's a lot of overlap in all the nutrients and foods that I'm recommending here, and all would be excellent to enjoy before bed. There's one exception, but it's a pretty obvious one. So including nutrients like omega-3 fatty acids, so some plant sources of those would be walnuts, hemp seeds, chia, and flax, as well as animal sources like cold water fish. So those especially salmon, mackerel, anchovies, sardines, and herring, since most of those are lower in mercury than some of the larger fish. Thankfully, you can get many of these foods canned or jarred as well as frozen. So they last quite a while, preventing you from making frequent trips to the stores right now. Another nutrient, or rather another element that's important to emphasize would be antioxidants. So especially vitamin C and zinc. For these two, especially the vitamin C, the easiest bet is just to focus on color. So specific examples could be citrus fruits, peppers, both hot and sweet, cabbage, kiwis, sweet potatoes, broccoli, and leafy greens. For those zinc-rich foods, that's looking more so at shellfish, legumes, nuts, and seeds. Other nutrients and vitamins we're looking at here, so specifically members of the B vitamin family, so including vitamin B12 and folate. Many of our patients are on a methylated supplement for these, but food sources such as dark leafy greens, legumes, beans and lentils, nuts and seeds are going to be great suppliers of those B vitamins. And last but not least, magnesium. So magnesium is actually a smooth muscle relaxant, can help us just have a sense of relaxation overall, and also a really important factor for our immune system functioning too. So leafy greens like chard and spinach, avocados, almonds, and chocolate. So this is the one that I don't advise before bed, since it does contain theobromine, which is a stimulant. So maybe have that one a little earlier in the day with your coffee. So logistically, what all this looks like is increasing our intake of vegetables and really trying to cut down on added sugars and saturated fats to help reduce the effects of sleep deprivation, since diets higher in sugars and saturated fats tend to be correlated with higher rates of oxidative stress. And remember, it's that oxidative stress, likely on our mitochondria, that really make us feel sleep deprived and run down during the day when we don't get enough sleep. So this also means for those of you that are working at home, or maybe where you do still have to go in, maybe you're an essential worker, really trying to cut back on the ready supply of sodas and snacks that are high in sugar, sodium, and saturated fat. And instead, trying to keep fruits, vegetables, unsalted, raw or dry roasted nuts, salads, smoothies, maybe even a healthy protein bar within arm's reach, and just trying to increase your access to healthy snack options, keeping those close to your work area, and really just trying to create a work and home environment with as many healthy options that can help reduce your daytime fatigue. So last but not least, I want to remind folks about our immune supporting kits. So maybe you're already sleeping like a champ and you want to go above and beyond to support your immune system. So just as a reminder, those kits contain the Pure Defense NAC, vitamin A, vitamin D3 with vitamin K2, vitamin C, the silvercillin, and the iodine. So those are my topics I want to talk about today. I'd like to open it up to any questions. If anybody has any glaring questions regarding sleep, whether it's one of the factors I touched on in the sleep hygiene factors. There was a lot there. I'm just going to go back through some of the comments that I missed earlier. So it looks like Julie had asked, let's say I'm sleep deprived, but how do I fall asleep easier? So I touched on that a little bit with some of those non-pharmacological examples. So for instance, like the yoga, maybe some type of a visualization or meditation or deep breathing exercise to really help support that. And obviously the sleep hygiene pieces can really help you fall asleep easier, since obviously if you're looking at screens right before bed, that's really dampening your melatonin and really just making it harder to fall asleep. So you could experiment with some of the melatonin rich foods, like the bananas, pineapple, ideally having it with some protein, as our dear friend Heather recommended last time. So it could be maybe a little bit of a banana with some nut butter or a handful of nuts. Or if you wanted to try some tart cherry juice, with some nuts or something like that. So, I'm seeing a lot of comments around, like the routine is different. I don't have the same bedtime. Right now we just have to do the best we can in terms of trying to establish some sort of routine. And I know for those that are in healthcare, like nurses right now, just their shifts are all over the place. And so, as much as you can, trying to have some semblance of a routine, even if it's a little bit different from day to day, but maybe just trying to have those restorative pieces peppered in throughout your day. So at least when you get off of work, of really kind of having that separation between work and home, whether you're working from home or not, but really having some sort of transition for yourself that can really signify to your body that I'm done with work. It's time to wind down. And so that's where, maybe you start putting on the soothing music when you get home, or, having that chamomile or passion flower tea. And maybe if you have the time, taking that relaxing bath or putting on a diffuser with the lavender in it, dimming the lights, that way at least you're trying to create some sort of semblance of a routine. So this is really common in shift workers too, that maybe have a really different schedule from week to week, and really have to artificially kind of create those boundaries for themselves. I saw Yulia had mentioned, would you then recommend happy lights for improving circadian rhythm? So there is, sleep experts have mixed kind of takes on the happy lights and things like that, mostly because they vary significantly in quality. And, you can get too much of them. They can be very stimulating for some folks. So it's definitely something you could play around with. And I'd recommend, working with your nutritionist or your doctor around that. For those that are known to have, like for individuals that definitely struggle with cortisol, melatonin imbalance issues, for instance, low cortisol in the morning, like they're really struggling to get going. There's definitely research that supports, they can help improve sort of cortisol balance and therefore impact the circadian rhythm in a positive way. So really doing some experiments of trying to find the ideal time to get that into your day. And again, making sure it's earlier in the day, and you're not sitting in front of it for hours. Some of my patients have them when they were going to the office, have them kind of at their office desk, and they would just leave them on for a really long time. And so really treating that much like a supplement or a medication, because it can significantly impact your cortisol levels. So too much, more is not better in that instance. So it could just be for 20 minutes. And oftentimes, depending on the wattage and the brightness, and the intensity of the happy light, there may be different recommendations for those. So really doing the experiment, taking it little by little, and not just, sitting in front of the light all day, thinking more is better. Another question from Julie, what are your favorite ways to start meditation? So I really like to meditate at the beginning and end of my days. And I have a lot of clients that really love to listen to a guided meditation to fall asleep. So for those that sleep alone, they can either play something. It may need to be on their phone, so making sure that it's face down. And really not emitting light or causing a temptation to look at that screen, making sure that all your alerts are turned off on the phone. That way you're not getting disturbed during that time, where you can really just do your best to relax, and, feel the weight of the bed under you. So I like listening to some sort of a guided meditation where I can really just do some sort of progressive relaxation throughout my body. And so, really finding sort of the crux of the issue for you, whether it's relaxing, whether it's kind of tuning out all the noise. So for those individuals, maybe not doing some sort of a silent or unguided meditation, having some sort of a story or a guide or a visualization that you can really, really draw your mind away from those things and have something relaxing to really focus on. So they actually make like a headband that you could wear. For instance, if you sleep with a partner in your bed and you don't want to wake them up or keep them awake, that you can wear that actually have headphones embedded in the band. I'm happy to provide links to some of those types of options. Some people can sleep with earbuds in, no problem. I know that doesn't really work for me, but definitely an option for those of you that aren't really sensitive to those earbuds. So finding something. There is a question in regards to any online guided meditations. Great question, Anju. So there's a lot out there. So there's a lot of apps you may have heard of out there. Insight Timer is one of my favorites. It definitely supplies a large bank of guided meditations. It can even be overwhelming sometimes for those that don't even know where to start. So for those individuals, maybe trying out an app like Headspace or Calm or 10% Happier. There's a lot of them out there, and we can put links to some of those options in our comments and follow up with those as well to get specific suggestions out to folks. One of my favorite meditation teachers, though, just to name drop, Joseph Goldstein, as well as Jon Kabat-Zinn. So Jon Kabat-Zinn is really known for body scan meditations and things like that. And really, I just recommend finding someone's voice who you really like. I've never been sensitive to cadence and tonation of voice until I really started listening to a lot of guided meditations. And if I don't like someone's voice, it's not going to help me get to sleep. So really finding whether or not you prefer a male voice or a female voice, I find that can be a game changer for just being able to really relax and tune everything out. Another question from Heather asking if exercise will improve my sleep routine. So it can, especially, if you're someone who's sedentary for most of the day, the recommendation isn't necessarily to put in a lot of intense exercise. So intense exercise for anyone, especially that's struggling with cortisol imbalances, can throw off that imbalance a little bit more. So really wanting to work with, your doctor or some sort of health practitioner or nutritionist to help kind of understand, to kind of dig deep and see kind of what the root of the issue is. Obviously exercising earlier in the day can be really supportive. That way your body can kind of relax after that event rather than having that intense exercise before bed. With that said, some people do benefit from going on just like a gentle walk to help, again, a gentle walk just to help release tension, to help clear their mind. So there it's really functioning as in more ways than one. It's really supporting the body in more ways than one. Any other questions on the feed? I'm in here. And feel free, if I didn't answer your question in entirety, feel free to post again or ask for more clarification. I'm happy to go into more details on any of those things. And I'm just looking at about 6 left or so. Yeah. I also saw a question if we sell melatonin cookies. We don't, but I recommend just relying on the fruits I mentioned. This can be really, really supportive. So again, the bananas, the pineapple, and the tart cherry juice can all be really, really great recommendations there. Interesting note, in my research putting together this talk, I came across a study that had individuals eat 2 kiwis before bed. And they, over I think just a month, participants found a huge improvement in sleep duration. So they were able to sort of add on an hour of high quality sleep. So a lot of these were individuals that were struggling with a lot of waking during the night, and really just waking up a lot more than general. So even for those individuals that weren't even aware they were waking up, were really getting much, much more solid and quality rest. So couldn't hurt to try. I would recommend maybe, again, combining it with just a little bit of nuts. That way you're really helping to stabilize that blood sugar there. If there's nothing else, I might sign off. And I'm happy to include some links to a couple of our favorite meditations, as well as some resources for maybe, there's that headband I mentioned that has the headphones in it. For those of you that want to try some nighttime meditations, or maybe can't have your phone on you, or are really hardcore and don't want to have your phone in the bedroom at all, which is great. Yeah, we can definitely put those links in as well. Yeah, so I think that's all I have to share today. So just as a reminder, feel free to reach out to us for any nutrition questions. You can go to our website and schedule an appointment right now. As a reminder, we are seeing clients, and we'd love to support you during this time, whether it's through the mental health piece, supporting you through any anxiety, depression. And you can go to the website, starklenutrition.com. There's a link to that on our Facebook page to schedule appointments with either myself or any of our practitioners. Again, my name is Rihanna, and I am very passionate about sleep. One of my specialties is brain health, and if you couldn't gather from today's conversation, high quality sleep has a huge impact on brain health. So, in fact, a lot in my work working with cognitive health patients, we saw that time and time again as a theme, where these individuals had struggled with insomnia, struggled with sleep deprivation, struggled with some sort of element of their sleep, whether it was due to external factors or just due to not prioritizing it. So immunity, cognitive health, sleep has so many overlaps in terms of our overall health and wellness. So with no further information to give, I'm going to sign off, let you all get back to the rest of your day, and I'll upload some resources for you guys. All right, take care. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.